We just went live to Rational Magic, which is muted on my end. We just went live to Rational Magic. Hello, hello. Forgive me while I restart my intro here. Boom. We just went live to all right. Hello. Forgive me while I just getting everything set up. Yeah. All right, hello and welcome to Rational Magic. Jumping into Premier Core Set 2021 today. Get right to it. I probably will do Dominaria drafts sometime in the future. It'd be good to diversify the types of drafts I'm doing. My problem there is that I'm just not getting anything back for doing the Premier Dominaria draft. None of the cards are legal in Standard, and not really many of them will carry over into, like, I guess, historic play. It is a really fun set, though. I will do at least one of these drafts on one of these days. But for now, I got to get my fix of 2021, explore a few more of the color combinations. I have my backup stash of gold to keep these drafts coming. Keep these drafts coming. Boom. Playbacks, chat rate, concurrent viewers. Now that we are live. Now that we are live. Just checking some of the settings in my analytics here. It's funny, just went straight live the moment I turned on OBS. Usually, you have to launch the video. But anyway. I haven't had to wait very long for these drafts to fill up. But this is probably the least busy that I've seen one of our drafts. There we go. Good old Fibblethip. Watching my back. Thanks for stopping by. Premier Draft 2021. I'll talk through the different picks. See if I can keep up what has been a pretty good win record so far. I've managed to make gems, more gems than I've invested into the drafts. So it's been pretty good so far. Make sure I keep an eye on all my settings here. I actually have volume today. It's pretty weird not having any feedback. In the previous live recording. Breaking Bad. Last one to enter. Ooh, bomb for the first pick. So Gadrak the Crown Scourge, 3-mana 5/4 flyer. He can't attack, but he can block. Very important distinction. Beginning of your end step, you create a treasure token for each non-token creature that died this turn. This includes your opponents. So super powerful 3-mana card that's really easy to get in line. It'll probably lead me into either a red-blue or red-black archetype. Kitesail Freebooter, I'm a big fan of. Lofty Denial has been an excellent card. Mistral with Prowess. It's pretty core to that deck. But easy pickup, Bomb Red. This is going to warp the draft quite a lot. Very motivated to pick around red as a color now. Creatures without flying can't block this turn. Bit weird if you're swinging in with flyers. 2-mana 2/1 Trampler. Pay 1, sack a creature, put a +1 counter on Hobble Fiend. I have seen that card be used to great effect. Ruined Halo. Enters the battlefield, choose card name, so it's more of a constructed denial card. Tempered Veteran is very good in the counters deck. You can pay 1 white, tap it, put a +1 counter on a creature that already had a counter. Kind of looking at Lofty Denial as the pickup here. Red-blue is the deck that I would like to force. And it has the flying synergy. Skyscanner is actually a pretty solid pick, but not good enough to be picked this early. Twin Blade Assassins is probably the strongest card in this pack, but green-black is kind of a pretty awkward archetype to be in. Tempered Veteran is good, but only if you're in the deck you need to build around that card. So I'll take the 2-mana counter spell. Unsubstantiate. Blah, I can't talk this evening. Return target spell or creature to its owner's hand for 2 mana, instant speed. 3 mana, 1/4 reach, hexproof from blue. Whenever he's dealt damage, you gain 1 life and create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. Pretty solid blocker. I'm gonna just highlight this as a temporary pick. There isn't a lot that gets through a 1/4. And the fact that it creates a token copy creature is pretty solid. But Rousing Reed is probably the strongest card at either uncommon or common in blue. Put a +1 counter on a creature, it gains flying, and draw 2 cards, discard 1 card. Pretty good. So this is a very powerful pack. It's hard to say whether Weaver or Rousing Reed, which one is more powerful. I think there are just more decks that want to play a Rousing Reed. So I'll take that for now. Double Rousing Reed. Read the Ties, 6 mana, draw 3 cards, return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hand. Choose a 1. Acolyte, 2 mana, 4 mana, 2/3 lifelink, enters the battlefield. Make 2 1/1 counters. Drowsing Pteranodon is very core to the green decks. But nothing here really competes with the second Rousing Reed. I'll play as many of these as I can get. Ideally, you would be in a green-blue deck and just pump this guy to be a 4/4 flyer, which is pretty good. But easy second Rousing Reed. Getting pretty set on card draw. 5 mana, deal 5 damage to target creature, destroy all equipment attached to it. It's an okay kill spell. The blue Sanctum I found to be rather underwhelming. Beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may draw X cards, where X is number of shrines you control. Then you discard a card. So it's not card advantage, it's filtering. And at 4 mana, it's quite a premium cost to be paying. In this pack, there isn't a whole lot in our colors. Frost Breath is actually a fine combat trick, but I'll take... the 5 mana kill spell isn't that exciting, but it's probably something that makes final cut of the deck if I'm in red. So Double Vision being passed, 5 mana. When you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets. Pretty exciting card, and it can be quite an effective build around. Mistral Singer, also quite strong. 2 mana 2/2 tap, deal 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. Kind of fun. Run Afoul is a good card. I think this early in the draft, I'm going to pick up the Double Vision, as it can be quite the insane card if you're able to build around it effectively enough. And probably Mistral Singer is the responsible second pick in this draft. And then followed by the second Turn to Slag, but not a card that I want many copies of. Library Larcenist is pretty good. Whenever it attacks, you draw a card. Works really well with Rousing Reed, giving that card evasion. 2 mana 2/2 tap, gain 3 life, flip a coin. If you win the flip, you gain 6 life. I just hate flip coin mechanics. Archfiend's Vessel, 1/1 lifelink. If you return it from the graveyard, instead you get a 5/5 flying demon. is actually pretty great. If I ever do want to pivot into black, the dual land here is actually rather interesting. Blue does go quite nicely with the green attached to it. So Capture Sphere and Lofty Denial in this pack, which are both pretty solid pickups. Lofty Denial does require you to have flyers. Both Rousing Reeds enable flying. I kind of like the card more than Capture Sphere, but I think it's pretty close. Turret Ogre also is a very strong card. It meets the 4 power matters theme. So Lofty Denial, Capture Sphere are about even for me. But I got paid off quite well here. Having too many copies of one card is probably worse. So easy pickup on second Lofty Denial. Very strong blue cards so far. Not much that builds around Double Vision yet in the pack. And this is kind of a whiff. Pick up a Pegasus that probably doesn't make the draft. I'm playing best of one, so sideboarding a Tormod's Crypt wouldn't be too great here. Just go ahead and toss that in the sideboard. Green-red dual land is tempting. The black 3-mana 2/3 zombie, spend 2 mana, tap. Each opponent loses 2 life. Activate only if a creature died this turn. Too many things need to go right before this card does work for you. Having a creature die and have 2 mana open is just a little too prohibitive on your plays. Enchant creature with +2/+2, attacks each combat if able. I really like the efficiency of this card. And I think you can get pretty favorable trades using it. Infernal Scattering, combat trick, +2 power. When it dies, draw a card. Not too exciting. Run Afoul is, I found to be very playable in the green decks. Just a 1 mana, forces your opponent to sacrifice a flying creature. Hooded Blightfang is very, very strong. Teferi's Tutelage is kind of the one card mill enabler in the set. If you want to go that route. 4 mana 4/2, must be blocked if able. When it dies, gain 1 life for each creature that died this turn. So not a lot in this pack. Pivoting into black, it's going to be a little bit hard to do. Teferi's Tutelage. Teferi's Tutelage. There are games where this just wins. It meets the same requirement as Double Vision, where I want to stack a lot of cantrips and burn spells. I haven't seen the good early burn spells to make that card effective. But this could be a pretty interesting draft. If I can manage to find good sorceries to go along with what I'm playing. But I'm not opening great cards in my colors. Turn to Slag is tempting. Considering I do have a lot of payoffs for just burning my opponent. The problem being I'm a little bit too slow to be effective in the game right now. But there's nothing really in this pack that I want to be playing. A second Larcenist is probably fine. Turn to Slag is a pretty weak way to be spending 5 mana, and I probably wouldn't cast it that early anyway. This is trying to be a red-blue control style of deck. I have this super aggro card in my hand. 2 mana, beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white griffin with flying. It's an amazing payoff. Sanctum of Stone. It's one of the better shrines. Deal 1 damage, gain 1 life each turn. And not seeing the payoffs for being in red-blue spells matters. 2 mana 1/1. Whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a +1 counter on Dryad. It's a very powerful spell. It's a very powerful spell. Destroy target creature or planeswalker for 5 mana in black. Another Larcenist. There is a chance I can make this work, and it synergizes with my deck is already doing. But I'm going to need to hard draft some dual lands. Volcanic Geyser. X damage to any target is pretty amazing with double vision. And it's nice to see at least one payoff so far for the Spells Matters deck. Pay 1, discard a land, card or shrine card. Deals X damage to each target creature or planeswalker where X is the number of shrines you control. So this alone is 1 mana, discard a card, deal 1 damage. An Opt is exactly what the deck needs. So I'm pretty happy to pick that up. I'm going to need a few more dual lands if I want to make the Dryad work. But easy Opt right now. Thrill of Possibility is also very good, but 1 mana cantrips are definitely placed at the B. I need early creatures to go with my double Rousing Reeds. 4 mana 2/2, beginning of combat on your turn. You may have target creature get +2 power. I actually like that card quite a lot. I like that card quite a lot. It does fit the aggressive playstyle quite a bit more. 4 mana instant, create 2 1/1 wizard creature tokens with prowess. At instant speed, this is one of the better Spells Matter payoffs that you can pull off. Treating these as 1/1s is a little bit of a mistake when you're evaluating the card. They're almost always like a base 2/2 power, and they're a card your opponent always has to respect. Seeing a lot of white still. So this definitely feels like white is a color that was open. And if I hadn't been trying to force red due to early picks, I might have just ended up in that color. 2 mana 2/1 Sacrifice Outlet. Creatures you control gain trample till the end of turn, draw a card. This is a red cantrip. 1 mana cantrips are kind of where I want to be. Black red land. Another Slag. Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest. Does produce a mana of any color. But I'll take a second Slag here. I have a ton of draw effects in the deck. This Looter I like well enough to play in the deck, I feel. Another Shrine. Toss that in the sideboard. So hoping that pack 3 is a little better than what we managed to pull. Unsubstantiate, another red rare. Chandra's Incinerator, 6 mana, 6/6 trample. Costs X less to cast, where X is the total amount of non-combat damage dealt to your opponent this turn. Okay, so that almost means nothing. If you're burning your opponent, you're spending mana on it most of the time. Whatever source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker. So this is essentially a 6 mana 6/6 trample. The discount effect is a bit counterintuitive. I'll definitely pick the card up. But if you're burning your opponent, you're spending mana to do so, which negates the effectiveness of discounting this spell. But still a pretty cool card. I'm pretty happy to pick up that rare. 2 mana, double the power of target creature until the end of turn. 2 mana 1/2 that threatens to pump itself by 2 power is fine. I think a second Goblin Wizardry is probably going to be the pickup here. I believe it's correct to play as many of these as I can find in the draft. And even over Mistral Singer, they're probably close in power level. But it is a card that I want to play. So here's the red-green payoff. Scorching Dragonfire is exactly what I need and don't have. So easy pickup there. I'm not in green. This is almost definitely going to be cut from the deck. Okay, Experimental Overload. Now I'm starting to see the cards I need. And also Heartfire Immolator, 2 mana 2/2 prowess. Pay 1 red, sacrifice Heartfire Immolator, deals damage equal to the number of equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. And a 5 mana 5/5. Whenever you sacrifice a permanent, deals 1 damage to any target. So 4 mana Creedon XX, blue-red weird creature. So this is the sorcery or instant resurrection card. Heartfire is very, very good. It's kind of a toss-up between these two. Kind of a toss-up. That pack had 3 cards that I wanted to include in the deck. So it's pretty unfortunate that things ended up spaced out that way. I would probably play a 2 mana 2/2 at this point just to fill out the curve and make me a little less vulnerable to some of the high aggro decks. I have enough cards in the late end of my curve. Oh, Shock here, definitely. So Shock beats out the 2 mana 2/2. Glad I noticed that. Sure Strike is a very good combat trick. Gives something +3 power in first strike. Can sometimes kill 2 things. The problem being I just don't have early creatures. I'm more of a controlling style of deck. Frost Breath is probably the second pickup here. But neither of those cards are too excited. There we go. Shacklegeist, going this far in the pack. 2 mana 2/2 flyer. The rest of the text in the card doesn't matter a whole lot, but still an excellent card. And kind of exactly what I need. And so I'm 3 cards above the number of playables that I want in the deck. So I will be... Oh geez, mouse. No. Okay, I'm going to have to reconnect my mouse after this game. Something with the Synapse software just really... It causes the lift-off from the pad to disconnect your mouse sometimes. 9 seconds. I do need more 2-drops. The Cur is good because it always threatens to pump for 2 power, which is pretty efficient. It's weird to not pick up the flyer there, which I kind of grabbed at the last second. Both of those cards I'm happy to run in the deck. So a little bit of a toss-up. And I'm going to have to count the number of cards that I have that will be effective with Double Vision. So another offering of the Cur. We have the 5 mana 5/5, which probably beats out something in the deck. I'm letting a lot of these go to the time, but it's mostly because I spend a lot of time talking through choices. And I had the card selected that I wanted to pick in the draft. So that was interesting. I tried really hard to force the red in the deck, and then the blue-red spells matter style of play. So I need to make quite a few cuts. Drop a Larcenist. Possibly a Protege. I'm going to have to see how many spells I have that trigger Tutelage. But Tutelage does just straight up win games in a lot of cases. It's not hard to mill through a 40 card deck with something like this in play. But I think I would need way more draw spells and cantrips to really be able to do this reliably. And I already have quite a few win cons in the deck. So that brings me to 41 cards. Clash through. I'm basically just running as a cantrip. It's not an instant speed cantrip, which is quite a bit worse. I ended up with an alright early game. Let's just check the stream statistics, make sure everything's good. If it's choppy, just go ahead and mention that in chat. I know it's lonely over there, but you're welcome to give your input. So, one more cut to make in the deck. If I want to stay at 17 lands, which I do, I have a pretty heavy curve. Turn to Slag is probably looking like one of the worst cards in the deck. I don't really have targets for Rousing Reed. Almost at all. I'm basically trying to hit Larcenist with that card every game. I'm trying to hold on to Turn to Slag here, as it is a payoff for Double Visions. So opt, Clash through, Shock, Dragonfire, Volcanic Geyser, and Turn to Slag. So I have quite a few payoffs. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10 cards in the deck that will be doubled through Double Vision, which are all pretty effective. Like Goblin Wizardry getting doubled is kind of insane. I have a fair amount of win cons in the deck. I think the problem is going to be making it to the late game without getting run over by some of the more aggressive strategies. My instinct is to drop a Turn to Slag. Turn to Slag. Just sounds weird in my mind. Sure Strike is actually pretty good if I end up attacking in with Larcenist, which I have to do for the card draw. And I would kind of treat that card as just another copy of a kill spell in the deck. Havoc Jester is just kind of in there as a 5/5. It's really well statted, as there are a lot of 5-minute 4/4s in the format. The Battle Rattle Shaman can pump Larcenist to be an effective power level. So Clash through. I really want to have that cantrip in the deck. And it would probably be cut, I'm thinking, for a third Larcenist. Rousing Reed isn't really a 3-drop in this deck. It's more of a spell that I play later when I have a target down on the field. That's 4 3-drops. Fairy's Tutelage might actually be a more effective win con than Double Vision, but I feel like I have the deck to make this work. Clash through for one more Larcenist. Or even a cancel in this deck is pretty good. The problem there being I'm not holding open mana that often. I suppose Goblin Wizardry being an instant and a lot of my interaction being instants, I could hold back the cancel. Create an XX blue-red weird creature token where X is the number of instants and sorcery cards in your graveyard. Then you may return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. So the best way to use this is doubling up on something like Scorching Dragonfire. But I'm going to try running the deck like this. Pretty happy with the 8-9 land-based split. I didn't manage to pick up any dual lands in that draft, which is a little bit unfortunate. Even in just 2 colors, it helps a lot, just having more fixing of your land base. So I'll play this for a draft, then maybe I choose to sideboard in Protege, Larcenist, or a cancel. All seem like they could be rather good in this deck. My card quality is quite high, but the synergy isn't quite there. I don't think I picked up enough cantrips, card draw spells, or early burn spells as payoffs. But I'm also running 2 powerful rares in red, so maybe that just wins the game for me. Damaging Moon 112. What a name. So pretty solid opening hand. Should be able to curve out nicely. $2,000 DPI. Just how I like it. I'd be pretty happy to cast Lofty Denial on turn 2, just as a curve filler and to get some of those instants and sorceries in my graveyard. Man, Magic is totally silent because my stereo turned off once again. Gotta replace this thing soon. Damaging Moon just can't decide. How much do you pay for your armored doggy? Now we have volume. Whenever it dies, deal 1 damage to any target. Oh my. This card is pretty effective against cards like Weirds. Another thing I didn't see in the draft is the Weird is probably the best payoff on 3 mana to be in Spells Matter. Okay. Probably shouldn't have been a counterspell there. Getting a little too distracted. So on turn 4, I could flash in the double 1/1s It all depends what my opponent leaves open. This is a good target for bouncing if he builds it up later in the game. And Lofty Denial is quite a bit better now that I have a flyer in play. Becomes a counterspell unless the opponent pays 4 mana. So I believe that's the same as Mana Leak, which I would have to look up. But... oh no. So he has the answer for my flyer. And some really good aggression. Running out of cards though. So I can play this reactively. And hopefully he taps out on mana. Pass to attacks. We'll get it Wizardry. If I block here with a 1/1, he has to sack the 2/2 in order to take a trade. Which is pretty good. It means he's not likely going to play anything else on his turn. So I'm okay paying, but then he can ping it off. So it deals with both cards. He can pay 1, sack this, pump it to be a 3/2. Ping off the 1/1 that's not being blocked. And then I've lost my prowess creatures. So taking 4 now might actually be the better play. Because I can pump these on his turn. Double Hobble Fiend. So if he can't get in on the ground, I'm doing pretty well. It is tempting just to cast Rousing Reed this turn. And get one of these guys a little bit higher. He only has 1 card in hand. 2 in his next turn. I do want Lofty Denial to be open. But I pretty much have to cast Unsubstantiate to take a trade with these. Problem being there's no guarantee the opponent has something I want to counterspell, or that he doesn't have a single mana open. So, double red and a blue, it's fine. This could be 4 damage in the air, but unfortunately I can't. Ooh. That's interesting. So I'll drop the land. Attacking in is not going to be a good race for me. So I'll just pass my opponent's turn. Having this in hand actually would have been amazing. But my draws are pretty good. Okay. I can bounce one thing if I want to. Go ahead and block here. See what he does. Now I already passed on priority. So if I think he clicks go to damage, I should get one more opportunity to cast a spell. Wow, that's a really good counter spell. Put a +1 counter on target creature you control. It gains protection from the color of your choice. So I get to pump my guys and counterspell his combat trick. Down to 9. He can finish off my guy. But this is looking quite a bit better for me now. He's running out of cards and I'm not. And double vision. I could play double vision and just take the 3 damage, go down to 6. Which makes all of my spells a lot better. It's pretty risky. But I don't die to a single combat trick. It's really tempting just to do. But it's obviously the risky play. Like, Larcenist bounce on his end step is the responsible thing to do here. But this also completely blows out the game. And I think I'm going to go for it. Play to win here. Picking up one more land would be really amazing. So no lands. I want to flash in Wizardry to create 4 1/1 prowess tokens. Yep, I think that's going to be the play. So pass my turn. I could have cast 2 spells that would be copied. I guess only your first instant or sorcery each turn. So that's something to keep in mind. Get my 4 tokens. I could take 3 and deal, like, quite a bit of damage on his turn. If he has a combat trick, he takes 2 creatures out pretty easily. Kind of okay with that. Was a free card after all. Whenever makeshift battalion, at least 2 other creatures attack, but a +1 counter on makeshift battalion. So yeah, that's the land I needed to be able to double up on goblins and bounce something. But I'm going to have card draw online. Bouncing that now is actually really good. I could swing in for 4 damage, but I think I need to get as much value out of this as possible. He probably won't play something on the first main phase. He's been playing pretty well so far. Been playing pretty well. Yeah. It's gonna swing in. I could double block and pump. I could chump block, I can bounce it. There's no trample here. I'm just gonna chump block. Because I need to clear the board on my turn, and he probably has a creature to play. Or he's been bluffing me with 3 lands in his hand all game. Damaging Moon. What's it going to be? Daybreak Charger pumps this guy. Okay, goes to his end step. I bounce 2 creatures. Another Arsonist. So I'll go ahead and attack with everything. Rousing Reed is quite tempting. So it means Lofty Denial is almost guaranteed to hit whatever I need to counter. Now that I have a flyer on board. Drew the double land. We'll keep 1 island, I guess. And 4 mana doesn't really matter here. So I'll hold on to 1 land. Now there isn't a lot he can do in his turn. So a pretty easy counter spell. We'll just double counter the same spell. Double counter. So I get a free card draw on each of my turns now. I will hold back 1 blocker. I can't let damage through. So how much damage is that? So I deal X twice. I have 6, 7 mana. So it's going to be 5 twice. This burns for 10 damage right now. And it isn't instant, so I can hold it open. But I'll just drop down a second body right now. I want to have 2 blockers on board. And even using this to deal 2 damage twice is probably good enough. Next turn I'll have 8 mana, so I can cast this for 6 damage and deal 12. Plus 2 is 14. No trample here. I believe Prowess gets 2 triggers, but I prefer to have the card draw next turn. So I'll chump again with my 1/1. Drawing through my deck is basically a win con at this point with Double Vision in play. So he had nothing to play there. He probably has some kind of burn spell. Take my double card draw. Okay, so overload. Go to damage. Okay, so create XX blue-red weird equal to number of instants and or sorceries in your graveyard. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right now this makes a 5/5. If I cast Crash Through, it makes a 6/6. For 4, I have 8 mana open. After playing a land. So I think I don't have lethal, I don't believe. So 8. Cast Volcanic Geyser for 6, deal 12 damage. I don't quite have lethal. So I'll just make sure I don't die on board here. I can play this at instant speed. But I'd also rather not find out my opponent has interaction on his turn. So yeah, I double up Experimental Overload, which is insane. But I believe taking a card out of the graveyard reduces the power of the resulting creature. Oh no, so it counted the card in the graveyard on cast, so I got a 5/5. And this should make a 4/4 now. There's an argument for taking the counterspell, as I pretty much have the game won right now. Or even unsubstantiate is probably a little bit better, but... yeah, this is where Double Vision is really insane. He has to kill me on this turn, so he needs some kind of burn. Which is not out of the realm of possibility. Picking up the other bounce spell, Unsubstantiate, also would have been really good there. Protection from blue. So it's still tapped, but he killed off my enchantment. That was kind of a cool trick. I think, yeah, he thought he was going to win there with a 5 damage flyer in the air. So these guys don't have haste. Casting Clash Through takes 1 damage off of Geyser, but adds all the damage on board. Ooh. Pretty awesome. Let's just do it because. Burn. 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, it didn't copy that? First spell each turn. I'm silly. I'm just being ridiculous now. I very easily have the game won. No, I'm just experimenting. So, I need to pay this for 4. Well, I need 2, but I'll do it for 4. Auto pay. Boom. Pretty sweet finisher. Very powerful win cons in this deck, if I can make it happen. But I'm lucky my opponent didn't have any of his own burn spells in that game. Jumping on in to game 2. This is the second live stream I've done of a recording. I always land on 1 concurrent viewer. Just sitting there. How are you, buddy? How you doing? Pretty awesome opening hand. So I can curve into pretty powerful cards. Leave open my red mana. Scorching Dragonfire. Green-white, nothing to do on turn 2. Which is pretty amazing. This is a high aggro color combination. Also one of the most powerful decks that you can build in M21. It's just a green... oh god. Green-white counters matters. So not too exciting there. I am looking for a card draw, so I'm going to go ahead and Rousing Reed. Ooh. So the card that I discard here is a little bit debatable. And it might be Lofty Denial. My opponent is ahead of me in the curve, and I don't foresee leaving open mana very often. I have pretty proactive plays. It's between Lofty Denial and Unsubstantiate. But I'm going to drop the counterspell. It's a little bit weird, but I like all the other cards in my hand quite a lot. And I do plan to play proactive cards every single turn, so I won't have the mana to cast it. I'm highly encouraging him to answer the 2/3 flyer now, where I draw a card every turn. Citizen Training, +1 power, trample, draw a card, which is pretty good. It means he's not doing anything too meaningful this turn. He could be holding open 2 mana for a swift response to kill off my 2/3 flyer. Okay. Kind of weak plays overall. I should have waited for the card draw before playing a spell there. So if I drop this guy, I can pump him to be a 4/3. But I'd rather put the dragon down and then have mana open for a spell. He has nothing that can block right now. He's no mana open. So I'll take the card draw. Get my Mr. Durgan down. And now on his turn, I can counterspell, bounce, or burn. And it's probably going to be a burn on the 4/2. DMND. No flavor text. No flavor text. Pass to attackers. So I'll go ahead and burn this down. And if he has some kind of hexproof or indestructible, that's okay. So protection from red, he's going to hit me for 5. But he's also not making great use of his mana now. And swift response. So he did have that in hand. I could bounce while my opponent doesn't have mana. I can cast any of these spells at instant speed. But I think I'm going to let my opponent untap. So I have 6 mana open. I can use a 2-mana spell and cast Goblin Wizardry. But I might just want to counterspell this turn. He's thinking pretty hard. This is kind of interesting. I could counterspell, or I could just bounce whatever he puts counters on. Which are both rather good. Huh. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and counterspell, though. Lofty Denial. This has trample, so I won't be able to cast Goblin Wizardry this turn. Bounce the cat to his hand. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spells in my graveyard. So I can make a 4/4 and return something like Scorching Dragonfire, which is going to be pretty good. Or I could look for a future like double cast of Wizardry. But the best use of my mana right now is to cast Overload. Or I could just take back a counterspell, then my opponent can't play anything. But it's hard to say what's better here. Alright, I'll take Lofty Denial. He'll be able to see it. So it's a little bit worse because of that. Okay. So I'll take out the Death Toucher. I don't want my opponent to have good blocks. And now I can pump my guy quite a lot. But I'm sitting at 7 mana, so if I cast the Battle Shaman, it means I can't cast Goblin Wizardry, but I don't have payoffs for it yet. I need to start pressuring my opponent. I'm somehow running out of cards this game, where I had quite a few free card draws. Now he probably gets down something huge. No, he has nothing huge in hand. So if he tries to double block my 4/4, that counts as 3 creatures dying. For each non-token creature, so it'll count as 2. I won't get a count for the weird dying. Towards Gadrak's treasures. Making a 4/2. So I'm kind of lucky that he's playing a lot of these low. Do I trade the dragon or do I take 4? I think I take 4. It's quite painful. But I think it has to happen. Okay, so now I have 8 mana. I could have done that on his turn. He double blocks. I get 2 treasures. So 2 more and I can start attacking in with the 5/4 flyer. He just has all the Pride Malkins. Gonna make a 3/2. So looking for Rousing Reed out of the deck. A second Goblin Wizardry would be quite good. Opt here is pretty nice. So I'll pump one of them and see if he blocks the other one. Pretty soon I'll be threatening lethal. You can do it. Block the 3/2. Which I don't blame him for doing. He has to be somewhat defensive. And he might have his own combat trick. So he's going to surge his... Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. What did that even do? Oh, okay. So place a counter and double the number of counters on target creature. This is a 6/5. That's amazing. So that, I'm glad I clicked the right button there. I did want the 5/5. That is huge. Ooh, okay, this card is really, really good. If one or more +1 counters be put on a creature you control, put that many +1 on that creature instead. Whenever he dies, you gain life equal to its power. Yeah. This is like the ultimate payoff card for the 1/1 counter deck. So, pretty good for him. Fortunately, he's already used a ton of his +1 counter synergy cards. Quite a lot of his deck, actually. But it could be difficult to close this game out. I don't have quite enough burn in the deck to get the best use out of Gadrak. I needed like a couple more Spitfires. Whenever I sack a treasure now, I deal 1 damage off of the Havoc Jester. So if these die... Okay. So I can block here. If they both die, get 2 more treasures, I can swing in for 5 damage in the air and pump it. If he has a pump spell, I can sack 2 treasures to deal an additional 2 damage. Okay. So this is going to be 8 counters now, and it has trample. So as base power 2, it's going to attack in for 10 damage. I'll take 5 trample damage. So actually, So I'm going to do this now. Sack this for a red. Burn the 2/2. Sack this again. Burn this guy. Get a treasure out of that. He gets me down to... what? 2, I believe? Quite painful. Oh no, it kills me. It's 12 damage. So, pretty solid. That was an amazing, amazing combat trick. And I'm not sure I had a way of dealing with that besides, like, I could have double blocked in case of the pump. Might have been smart to do. And then I could have burned him for an extra 2 and probably had the kill. So, sort of underestimated my opponent there. He was very clearly building around +1 counters, but he had really good draws too. Hit a ton of the action in his deck. I kind of had a couple different plans in my head there. I really wanted to get 4 treasures, but I ended up needing to use them anyway. Burning off the 2/2 didn't matter. But I was more thinking that, like, if he had like the +1 hexproof spell or the some of the white combat tricks, I could get that extra bit of damage in. But pretty good game. I maybe held on to my dragon a little bit too long, just in hope that I'd be able to activate him. He didn't do me too much good by just not ever blocking in that game. So I probably will cantrip Clash through. It's hard to say though. I have 2 prowess triggers in my hand, or 2 cards with prowess on them in my hand. So maybe not, maybe I'll hold on to this. I was thinking that like it'd be good to draw into a 2-drop, but I don't have that many 2-drops in my deck. So it's unlikely I hit them anyway. And I will counterspell this card. Just to keep the aggro down. That would have been 4 damage this turn. And it's going to be hard to beat a really aggressive deck. So pretty good cards in hand. And I don't think I go for the Prowess trigger. I'm going to hold Goblin Wizardry and then hope I get some kind of cheeky trade with the 1/1. The nice thing is that giving something indestructible with this doesn't actually get around Capture Sphere. Cancel. The white-blue aggro deck is running counterspells. Wow. So I get my double vision down. He might feel pretty bad about that. It was a really good cancel for him. He countered a very high value spell. Gets his own Larcenist. Ooh, Geist, pretty sweet. So I'm going to clash through for the double card draw and the Prowess trigger. 1 mana, draw 2 cards, pretty solid. Okay, I'll get my land down. I'm sitting on 3, 4, 5 mana. And I'm probably just going to develop my own Shackle. I'm winning on the race right now. He's been weirdly playing control magic. Mix into his high aggro cards. And then next turn being able to double up Geyser is pretty insane. He might have Swift Response. He's waiting on something. Self the Savior will pause combat, so it's not guaranteed he has an instant speed thing in his hand, but it seems likely. Seems likely. This does double on my opponent's turn if I wanted to deal 1 damage to 2 things, but pretty poor use of that card. So he attacks in for the card draw. Which definitely looks like he has a combat trick. Next turn, Geyser, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Deals 8 damage. So by not blocking, I have lethal next turn, assuming the opponent doesn't do anything too crazy to me. But he's shown 1 counterspell. Ooh. Baron Tolarian the Archmage. Enters the battlefield, return up to 1 target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand. Beginning of your end step, if a permanent was put into your hand from the battlefield this turn, draw a card. Will he bounce his own thing? It'd be pretty weak. He does too. Wow. Okay, so I have lethal. Leaving open 1 mana will protect me from Lofty Denial. Go to my turn. He could have a Swift Response, so I have 5, 6, 7 mana. So this deals 10 damage if I cast it using all of my mana. Go for 2 attacks. No Swift Response. So I'm actually going to see if this damage hits. I only get 1 more by casting Volcanic Geyser now. So it brings him to 8. So if I cast this for 4, it's enough to kill him, and I can pay the mana to not get hit by Lofty Denial. What the poop? What is this? Nyambi, esteemed speaker. Flash enters the battlefield. You may return another target creature you control to its owner hand. If you do, you gain life equal to that creature's converted mana cost. Oh my god. What is this deck? So who do I want to hit with the other one? So he's just comboing his cards down now. Pay 3 tap, discard a legendary card, and draw 2 cards. This is so crazy. He's comboing Baron and Nyambi. Double rares. And just bouncing each other and flashing them. This is actually going to be a tough game to win. I did not expect the 2-mana flash rare. So I could have gotten 1 more damage here and 2 more off of Geyser, spending all my mana. So I could have gotten him down to 4 that turn instead of 7 if I full committed. But there's no way that I can predict he has Nyambi in hand with the exact mana to cast it. I think he was oopsing because he didn't sack his guy to give Indestructible. This being in hand is pretty painful. I'm so heavily relying on top decks now. Like, the right top deck will win the game outright. All he's doing is chaining card draw. Which is pretty good for me. It means he's not affecting the board. So I could deal 5 if I flash in Capture Sphere. This is kind of done its work now. Exile target creature planeswalker. Its controller creates a 4/4 white flying angel token. So what stage of the game are we at? Declare attackers. So he hasn't declared blocks yet, so I need to do this in time. So tap down the 4/4. Get my prowess trigger. And he might even have Lofty Denial in hand still. That could have been a card. Get my 5 damage in. And now drawing, like, Shock wins the game. Rousing Read would be pretty amazing. Anything that lets me dig through the deck here. It's quite good. See if I'm still on camera here. I'm a very fidgety sitter, if you haven't noticed. Aquila. Aquila. Still a pretty hard game to win. This is so weird. So he bounces the 1/1 to his hand so that he gets a card draw at the end of his turn. So he just exchanged Unsubstantiate for whatever's on top of his deck when either of these cards kills him. Like, why would you go for a card draw when you die to what's on board? Like, I guess he didn't have 2 answers in his deck, in his hand. So it needed to draw into, like, Frost Breath or something, but It seemed like he spent a lot of time during that game spinning the wheel, spinning the wheels and not actually using his interactive spells wisely. But that was a crazy game. If he had saved the creature that I killed, the Nyambi rare, what those two cards did in tandem was they each bounced each other and drew a card when they did it. So he could just repeatedly cast the blue creature, bounce Nyambi to his hand, flash a Nyambi, bounce the blue creature, and get a card draw every time he did it. But he's spending like 4 or 5 mana every single turn doing that and not affecting the board. So just by attacking in with the most basic of creatures, I had the win in that game. Kind of crazy. I haven't seen anyone try that before. Like, what are the odds you even draw or draft those two exact rares that happen to have this weird combo interaction with one another? Ooh. Bjorn, 248. Pretty sweet hand, double Lofty Denial, Arcanist. So I'm pretty happy with 2 of these in the deck. I think 3 would be kind of overkill. Costs X less to cast, where X is the total amount of non-combat damage you dealt to your opponent. So this combos with cards like the Black Shrine, like the 1 mana red creature that burns your opponent. So you get to discount this by like maybe 1 or 2 if you really build around it, which is not really enough to be an effective card. The 1/3 flyer is actually going to put in work this game. And he has the 1 mana open, so I can't effectively counter that. And this game could be a quick loss. This is looking pretty unfortunate. Yep, he's just playing out on curve quite nicely. That is quite good. So I'd rather not attack in and lose the Larcenist. I'm not that desperate for card draw right now. Just having a blocker in the air is really good. But I'm still vulnerable to whatever interaction he has. Curved out very, very nicely. I'm going to need a little bit of luck to not just lose out in this game. Gets to counter 2 creatures. Yeah. Ouch. That is a nutty combination. So I think I'm just going to double block here. Let him assign damage. See who he wants to kill. So he assigned to the Larcenist first. So if I cantrip, he shouldn't kill off the 3/3. That is a good card. I think I'm going to keep that on top. So I can bounce something and get an activation on Prowess again. And I'm holding open a counterspell. Counter the crab. I need to do something with it, and I need as many counters here as I can get. Goes to his end step. I could just bounce the 3/3. And I think I will. I want to cast Overload on my next turn, probably. So I drew a mana. That changes quite a bit. Overload creates a 3/3, and I can get back one of these 3 spells. 3/3 on the ground isn't too great right now, and I don't really want... I need 6 mana to use those spells effectively unless I want a cantrip. So just putting down a 5/5 is pretty good right now. And I've somewhat stemmed the bleeding, but I'm still not in a great spot. Bjorn has quite the deck. Okay, so there's my 6 mana. So I could also just cast a 6/6. If I attack in 2, 3, 4, 5, he doesn't have great blocks. But it means I also don't have great blocks on his turn. Bringing back... So I could create a 3/3, bring back Unsubstantiate, and bounce probably his flyer. But I think I need to turn on the aggression. Start turning the game a little bit in my favor. So he takes 5. I'll put down the 6/6 Trampler. I'm still at parity in the air. He had his own counterspell, which is pretty bad. But he's at least played out his cards in hand. It's a common... Oh my god. What a perfect draw. Top decks, Read the Tides. 0 cards in hand, refills everything. He spent 3 mana to kill 11/11 worth of stats. That's so insane. Take 2. Okay. So whatever I pull back, he sees. I have 3 mana open. It's kind of between Opt and Unsubstantiate. It's hard to say what's better. But the bounce spell is safer. But I'm out of cards in hand. So this is kind of tough. Yeah, I think I need cantrips. Can't attack. Still on the back foot here. He's had amazing, amazing plays. So I can't counterspell that. He just has a massive abundance of mana. He's going to be able to tap things down on his next turn. Second Enforcer, might as well counter. Just no dead draws. None of the above. Ugh. So next turn he can tap down my flyer. Do whatever he wants, so I guess I should have cast that. Not good. Not good at all. That's going to be a game in pretty short order. Deals 4/5, 6 damage a turn, kills me in 2 turns. Or he's really dumb. Will he continue to be really dumb? There you go, buddy. Kills me in 3 turns. I can tap down the flyer now and do the same attacks, gain 2 more life. Or the ground creature. Doesn't want to do that either. Great. Love it. Love these games. Unfortunate. So sitting at 2 wins, 2 losses. That was kind of backbreaking. He had the perfect draws that game. Our deck is pretty reliant on draw order and these sort of spell combo decks, which is definitely a weakness. So very solid opening hand. I prefer this be a counterspell, but pretty happy to see this. I might hold on to the cantrip. The problem being, like, I can't use this at instant speed. I'm not really hurting for draws, although I'd like to have a 2-mana counterspell. So he's really looking for draws. Red, green. Double cantrips. I can't say what's totally correct, whether this being in my graveyard is better than being in my hand. 1/4, hexproof from blue. Whenever it's dealt damage, you gain 1 life. There's some nice combos you can do with that card, but it's definitely not aggressive. The reach does pose a bit of a problem for my flyer, but I should be able to play around that. Ooh, that Mire is so good. Palladium Mire, 2/2, taps for 2 mana. So he might have a very explosive next turn. So this will get my flyer to be a 4/4, which is what I need. Or I clash. Yeah, it's still a lot better than any of my other plays. Get some of these lands out of my hand. And I might as well do this now. Do I? So next turn I'll have 5 mana. Yeah, I'll cantrip now. I'm almost definitely going to bounce whatever he plays on this turn if he taps out for 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 mana. Could be quite painful. Only a single green source might be in my favor. Quarantini. Buckling down in the safety of his home. What is there to do but play Magic? So he just goes wide on board. So sitting at 5 mana. I will go ahead and attack. I'd like to get rid of the 1/4. Bouncing Palladium Mire is actually pretty effective. I don't really want to block on my turn, but there's no reason to cast this early. I have enough of a lead on the life total, I'm not too worried about just straight up losing to the damage on board. Although it is a lot. He can swing in for 7. I cast Goblin Wizardry. I can swing back for quite a lot. So 3 cards with prowess. 3, 4, 5. Plus 2 times. Plus 1 times 3. Swing back for 8 damage. 2 times 3, 6. Swing back for 11 damage next turn. So, I'm glad he's being cautious. It is what I need. Gets his own weird down. Only one card in hand, so not a lot of payoffs. Ooh, that's a lot of cantrips. Okay. So I definitely want to pressure lethal. Double prowess triggers. I need enough mana to get this to 4 power. Because he does have a reach blocker. Interesting cards in hand. I'll discard a red source. Get one more land down. I can only cast one spell in this turn. So 7 in the air, soon to be 9. Blocks there. So I think I'll just... I could have opted to find a blue source so I can do 2 things, but I think I'd rather just bounce the weird to his hand. So he gets a 1/1 token off that. Still hurting quite badly for blue mana. But next turn I should have lethal in the air if he doesn't answer my cards. There are a lot of cards he could play with reach in green. It's like 2 at common and several at higher rarities. The Gnarled Waywatcher, it's a 4/4 with reach. The Spider, the 1/3 that pumps its power. Ooh. Or just has Volcanic Salvo. X is the total power creatures you control. Deals 6 damage to each of up 2 target creatures and or planeswalkers. Yeah, that was an amazing card. So not having a second blue source hurt me very badly. Maybe I should have opted into it and then been able to potentially counterspell. But this still only sees 2 cards. And then I'd be taking 4 damage right now from the weird. You'd be able to swing for 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ouch. Not looking good. I don't really have the payoffs for double vision. That's 6 mana. I cast Havoc Jester and opt on his turn to pump this to a 2/2. Or I could play the 6/6 Trampler. But I think I do need to block. So keeping mana open for the opt is going to be important. This is whenever I sacrifice a permanent, so it won't trigger off of him sacrificing. If I can stabilize on board, I have really good cards in hand. But doing that might be a problem. Might be a problem. I have 3 screens of what I'm doing right now in total. 3 monitors and 3 screens, all displaying my single game against Quarantini. It's a crazy good rare. I could see this being very constructed playable. Fits the green-red big guys archetype. My turn. I probably will opt here, although double vision, maybe not. Maybe not. So if he's not attacking me, that's very, very good. The Shacklegeist actually threatens lethal, possibly sooner than Chandra's Incinerator. And it also leaves me open for counter magic. But the opponent has what looks like 7 mana. It's hard to say what's better here. Depends on what he top decks, really, if he can answer my 5/5 or not. Really, I just need to drag the game out long enough I can get enough value out of my spells that the game turns in my favor. Winning through flyers will be a lot easier than winning with tramplers on the ground. So my options now, I can double vision and draw twice, get 2 ops, which sees a lot of cards, but I would like to hold open my counterspell. And he has pretty good blocks right now. But I need to start whittling down his board so that I'm not in range of lethal. And any extra damage I get in will be really nice. So he's going to death touch my guy. I get 4 damage in. Accelerates his death by 2 turns. I'm basically leaving this for either if I top deck a more powerful spell or if I have no other plays in hand. He's close enough to the win that I think leaving open Lofty Denial is going to be pretty important. Okay. Yeah, we don't want that. Oh, the Mire. He had enough mana with the Mire. That hurts a lot. Now, what does he have? Oh my god, yes. Yes! That's amazing. No reach. Getting 5/2 damage. This is overkill. But like, he could have, I don't know. There's nothing he could really have. But I'm going to play it out this way. And double shock to the face. The double win. Tight game. That's pretty funny. He was going for the exact same win con. Although it was more of a backup plan for me. First time that I've drawn shock in... I gotta fix my mouse here. It drives me nuts. In how many games? That's 3 wins, 2 losses, and 5 games. First time I've seen shock. All right. I'd love to pull this to 4 wins and break even on the draft. It's kind of the goal. I have quite a lot of resources saved up, but If I can keep these draft videos going and never have to spend money on drafting again, that is kind of the goal. So I'm definitely not making money. Not doing this. It's just for you. I really wish I didn't see this tooltip all the time. Ideal draws allow you to curve out. The tooltip is basically saying that drawing perfectly is good. We need tooltips to tell us these things. Pretty awesome opening hand, even though I only have 2 mana. 2/2 flyer and a burn spell are kind of backbreaking. One lifelink. So he's not going to make this easy for me. Low to the ground black deck. He probably has quite a lot. Alright, he can't block. Ooh. A good life gain deck definitely scares me. There are a lot of good things you can do with a solid life gain deck. So if he has the 3 mana gold card, that's kind of my worst fear. 1/4 lifelink. If he gains 3 or more life a turn, he deals 3 damage to the opponent, and it's out of range of Scorching Fire. So it means there's no easy way to kill it. 0/3 wall pumps his guys on attacks. I will absolutely trade for this. That is a very scary card. Something I do not want to see on the battlefield. So my opponent is 4 cards in hand to 4. He's played a lot of really low CMC stuff. My 2/2 flyer is basically just keeping him at a reasonable life total. This time I won't block. I do want to get card draw off of Larcenist and have a target for Rousing Reed if I draw it. High value cards. Super high value. So I can pump this to 3 power if I play the Battle Shaman. But I do think I need to answer this. If I attack with 2 creatures, he draws a card. And if I cast 2 spells in a turn, he draws a card. So I'm going to attack in for the draw. And see where he blocks. Pretty fun card. Absolutely, this card is designed for multiplayer. So I'll let damage go through. Then I can burn this down. It's pretty slow tempo play for me. But kind of something I had to do. It's gonna keep gaining 2 life. That's okay. It's not really okay, but there isn't a whole lot I have to say about it. So I'm getting pretty close to a double vision turn where I bounce 2 things. Need 1 more mana for that. The 5/5 blocker is pretty clutch. I definitely need to outvalue my opponent this game. It's looking like he has a combat trick. Oh no, it just pumps itself due to the wall for 5 damage. And I can't keep taking damage that way. The upside is that he doesn't have payoffs for the life gain right now. So he's buffering his life total. But that's about it. That card actually really hurts me right now. This can block creatures with flying. So I think this is where I throw down on double vision. I get hit by 4 or 5 damage next turn. But the 2/2 doesn't really help me, and there won't be a better time to play this. Still going to be a pretty difficult game to win. Daybreak Charger. I might be dead. Not quite. So that's 3, 6, 7, 8 damage that I can't block. I need like Goblin Wizardry to get 2 spells out. Something along those lines. So 4, 7 mana, 4, 7. Trouble here, like, these are all really weak creatures. Bouncing them doesn't really help me that much. Yeah, swinging for lethal is pretty important. So past blockers. I block here. I block the Thallid. And... no, I block these two. I bounce the Thallid on this guy. So I take no damage, but he gets to replay his hand. Ugh, so I'm not dead yet. Oh yeah, I am. Keep forgetting to put the Walls Mask into play. Into consideration. This is a card that I really didn't like in my first evaluation, but it works out pretty well if you have enough cheap creatures in your deck. It still, like, does nothing sometimes and just ends up being a dead card. My biggest problem is that I didn't draw enough removal spells to really justify being in red. I kind of forced the color off of 2 rare drafts and then try to make it work from there. Experimental Overload is one of the huge payoffs for being in these colors, and only found 1 of those, and not enough cantrips to really up the power level of the deck. Sure Strike. I could see putting in over something like the Battle Rattle Shaman. But this is what it is. 1,000 gems and 2 packs. Pretty okay with that. Anyway, this has been Rational Magic. Thanks for watching. Come back for more limited content each and every day. See you around.